oh, I've got some pimples here I've got to fix too. And maybe a little bit of a wrinkle there. I think there might have been a little bit of stress in that metal, just a little bit. Hello everyone, welcome back to Maverick Mods. Right in the middle of the resto mod on 71 Firebird here. It's a 52-year-old seen better days car that pretty much had been kind of abused a little bit over the years. What I've done so far with it, LS1, T56 6-speed, torque arm rear suspension, all of that's done. As far as the body goes, I had to replace both rear quarters, the roof, the tail panel, the trunk panel, one door skin, and what else? Parts of the floor, the rear floor pan. But I didn't want to have to replace every single piece of sheet metal on this car. Some of it you got to reuse. That's what we're focusing on today. The fenders, not in great shape. They're fixable. And so I'm going to show you what you have to do to fix issues with the fender, and in one circumstance, fix somebody else's really poor attempt to fix a problem. So let's dig in, grab your popcorn, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Let's take a look. So we've got the Swiss cheese up here, which to this day baffles me because, you know, you don't need to do, I know this is old school, but you don't need to do the drill pull if you can reach the backside with a dolly. So I'm going to go and fill all these holes and then get to the backside with a dolly and just straighten all of this out. I'll work on that. I need to work on my mounting tabs down here. These are just a little bit rust out. I'll just patch these. I've got, somebody tried using them. I'm not sure what they tried to use here, but I'll straighten that out. I've got complete access to the backside there. And down here is, well, this is just ugly. There's no putting lipstick on this pig. I've got a patch panel, which interestingly enough, this isn't a great patch panel. It mostly fits, but it doesn't fit very well. And interestingly enough, this thing is either out of production or out of stock everywhere where I looked. This came with the car. It's not the best, but at least I've got something to work with. But I'm going to wind up cutting I'm going to wind up cutting at least up to here. I'd like to go all the way and just patch this as well, but the panel doesn't go up that high. So I'll go up as high as I can. I might actually patch this first and then cut a little bit lower, but I got to get rid of this, and I need to do a little bit of work on the support brace on the bottom as well. So let's get started. I don't think I can do really do any more damage to this area of the panel that's already been done to it. So I'm going to zip these out really quick, get my brass buck on the back side, just fill these holes, and I've kind of rushed through it a little bit more than I normally would. And we'll hit it with the grinder and then start hammering and dollying this area. Woo, this is some thin metal. Well, it looks better already. That's a relative term. Next, I'm going to come in on the back side with a dolly, front side with a hammer, and just start smoothing everything out, taking the low spots out, high spots down. You know the drill. Okay, that was the first round of hammer and dolly work. I'm going to do a light coat of primer, then I'll start going over this with the board, sanding block, and we'll find some more highs and lows, I'm sure. Let's see where we're at. So, you need to work a little bit more on these spots right here. I got this down, so that's good. Got one little spot there and one right there. Not a whole lot I can do about this right here because there's a brace back up in here. Might be able to push it a little bit. Let me give that a try, and we'll keep working at it. So I'm zeroing in on my repair here on the, what would that be called? Swiss cheese. I'm working on the pimple area here on the side of the fender. That's getting closer. While I'm waiting for the paint to dry on that, let's take a look at the lower rear section here. Basically, I've got good metal, well, I've got semi-good metal down to probably at least about right here. I don't know if I want to carry this contour too far because I've got that in the patch panel, but I don't want to necessarily go up too high because the patch panel won't cover this entire opening, which I'm going to eliminate. I think what I'm going to do, first off, I went ahead and ground my holes down. I'm going to fill these holes, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to clean this up, cut myself a patch panel, and then I'm going to lay a patch panel in here, and then I'm going to evaluate the whole thing and see just how much of it I need to replace. Of course, from the bottom up is kind of where I need to look at. I cut my opening where I knew I had good metal and good contours. Cut myself a patch panel. This patch panel came from that other door skin, so at least I got some use out of that. I'm going to clamp it in place here. Doesn't have to be perfect, just enough that I can scribe it. Now, can I see my marks? I can. Okay, let me cut this out to size, and we'll fit it and get it ready to tack in. All right, here we go. Let's give it a try. All right, that gets me started. I gotta work on that corner a little bit. You guys have seen the drill. A lot of times, I'm just gonna work way around. Since I can get to the back side on this, I'm gonna do a tack. I'm gonna grind a lot in between passes. Hammer and dolly, keep everything flat, make sure everything's level. And when I'm done, this thing should not require any body work after that, maybe just a smidge of filler. Just, hopefully, we'll see how it goes. So the next thing is I need to cut out this and get back to something I can work with. So let me get started on that. I went ahead and started right here. This is what I think might be good sheet metal. I can always go up if I have to. I've got plenty on my patch panel. I'm going to start here and work my way up if I need to. I think there might have been a little bit of stress in that metal, just a little bit. All right, so now I need to just kind of come all the way down on both sides. I'll have to figure out how to separate it, probably down here, from the there's an inner brace at the back here. Let me start on here. All right, let me flip this over. See what I'm working with up here, because there's a lot of brazing involved here. Let's see if we can peel this guy off. Whoo, boy. In the pile. All right, now let's see what we're working with here. What was original metal? Okay, so this is the inner brace. Looks like they put a patch panel on it here. This is original sheet metal, I think. All right, well, this is kind of like peeling the layers off an onion. Well, this really is like peeling the layers of an onion. Probably an onion that's gone bad and sat rotting in the fields for 50 years. All right, I think we're getting close to the original metal. I think this is the original inner brace. It's been tweaked a little bit. That was a panel patched to it. All right, well, we're getting closer. I'm back on the which side? Back on the driver's side fender here, working on this lower section. When I looked at it off the car, it looked pretty bad. Look at it back on the car. Once I cut off the bad part, which is here, it looks, well, a little bit better. It's workable now, but I went ahead and cleaned this piece up. Just ran it in the sandblast cabinet for a minute. It's beyond saving. There's not enough good metal left here to work with, and it's so wrinkled and just messed up. You know, it's going to be easier just to fabricate my own piece. So what I did was I went ahead and used the old piece as a template. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this. I've got to make a couple of bends. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this the way it normally would be, and then start making my bends and start forming this piece. There is a method to my madness, I promise. So this bolt right here is the lower rear fender mounting bolt. I'm just going to go ahead and... Now remember, this piece right here is actually the inner portion of this brace. This is not the actual outer portion of the fender. I'm recreating the brace right now. So I'm going to kind of center it right here. So I've still got some adjustment room. Go ahead and cinch it up a little bit. I'm going to line it up. This is kind of by eyeball at this point. That's pretty good. Give it just a little bit of a snug. And what I need to do is I need to recreate the bends that are right here on the rocker panel. So I'm going to go ahead and scribe a line. I wish I could use the old piece for this, but it's in such terrible shape. There's just nothing left to work with. So let's go ahead and put a little bit of a bend in there. Okay, so we're going to make a little bit of a bend here. I'm guessing at this point, I don't really know what angle to put on it. We'll start with that. And we'll redo it as we need to. Dumbass. I've got my piece folded. There's actually a couple of bends in there. Got her tacked in. I had to wedge the fender and the brace kind of in position, so don't laugh at my wedges, they worked. What I'll have to do now is come along. I didn't have quite enough left over on the side here to be able to fold on both sides, so I'll have to come in and template a piece to act as the inside and the corner piece here. I've been busy making metal. You guys have watched me do this countless of times. What I've done is I've made the corner piece here. It's just going to butt weld up against the edge here. Nothing else I can say about that. I'll weld this in. Let's take a look at it. I've got my replacement support bracket bottom piece welded in place. Got the first of the edges here that I templated up and welded in. I did a test fit and found out that I can't take this corner out quite as far as I did because it interferes with the bottom of the rocker panel bolt area. I need to grind a little bit of that off. That's why a lot of times you have to do test fits, sometimes multiple times before you get it right. I've got my support piece completed. Got the flanges on both sides fabbed up, welded in. This side was a lot easier because it doesn't really interfere with anything. I need to work on that edge just a little bit, just for my OCD. Other than that, let's take a look at the patch panel as I install it, and I'll give you an idea of kind of my reservations of the patch panel, but again, it's all I have to work with. So let's take a look at that. So my patch panel, obviously, I'm not going to use all of it. But when you kind of get it close to in position, it's kind of okay. It does not match the contour here at the bottom. So once I start working up here, I'm going to have to very gently and slowly kind of bend this back down so that it matches. It's going to have to come from this angle. Hope you can see that. From this angle, it's going to have to come and basically match the flange down here. So that's actually quite a bit of work to get that down in. But my biggest complaint about this panel is the edges are really, really soft. They don't match the contour of the rest of the lip of the wheel well. And same thing on the back side. I'm going to see if I can't maybe take the hammer and kind of pinch those a little bit. We'll see. The other problem is it doesn't give me enough material here to really make a flange. I'm assuming that in a perfect world, what they really wanted you to do was kind of use this section of it, and they just gave you the rest of it just because it's there. I can't do that in this case, so let me think on this for a while. And like I said, I don't have enough material on this flange either to match the rest of the wheel well, and obviously not nearly enough here to fold all the way down. So let me see what I can think up on this, and we'll revisit this. I've had pretty good luck so far with just about all of the replacement panels that we've ordered and gotten for the car. Pretty good fit. Until this guy. I can kind of understand why this thing is no longer available, because so far there's not a single part of it that I haven't had to modify or otherwise alter to make fit. So just a basic, this notch right here, which is on the original fender skin, was not here. I had to cut that. The cutout for the bolt was not there. I had to cut that out. I still haven't done it on this side, but I'm going to wait on this one until I actually get it finalized. The angle right here was completely wrong. That took quite a bit of shaping to get that. And that extended all the way down. So basically, I had to kind of shape everything right up in here. And I'm almost to the point where it's close. So let's try and mount this guy up and see what it looks like. Slide this guy in here. Now, that's going to go under there, but I don't think I'm going to, I can't overlap here anyway. But let me go ahead and line up my back edge. Get that where it needs to go. Stick my bolt in just for reference purposes. I'm not going to tighten it up yet, but just to make sure I can actually get it in. Alright, so I'm pretty good on the rocker right there. And actually, if I set that right along the edge, my gap is good until it gets to up here. And I'm just about, my flange here is even to my flange here. Now, this flange, I'd rather keep this one for several reasons. I hope you guys can see this. But if you look at the difference between those two flanges, it's like night and day. So the flange on the patch panel doesn't even come close to doing what I need to do with the original. Problem is, the original has got a lot of brass in it still, so I've got to do some work on that. But I'm actually pretty close. Closer than I thought I would be. So let me keep working on this, and let me work on the front edge next. Alright, round, I don't know where we got, 314 test fitting this fender, or this patch. Let's get it slid up in here, and there we go. Okay, so I got the front edge worked, saved as much of that flange as I could. I still don't like this corner, but I'm afraid there's not a whole lot I can do about that to tighten that up. I'm probably just going to have to use a little body filler to get that to match the radius here. We'll see. But set pretty well over here. My gaps look good. Need to work on this corner down here just a little bit. Let me get the bolt in. There we go. All right. So, good there. And this will change just a little bit because I still need to cut because I'm overlapping a little bit up here top for now. But I'm pretty darn close. That'll pull in, so I'm not worried about that. I'm good there. Let me slide this out just a little bit. About right there. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to grab some clamps, clamp this in place, and let's see if we can do a little final adjustment. I'm going to take a straight edge along the rocker. Dumbass. Hello there. Actually, not bad. Not bad at all. Okay. I can make that work. I'm going to scribe this so that I can get it. Maybe down here too. Shouldn't make any difference at this point, but what the heck. I went ahead and mounted the fender to the car and aligned it. I've got bolted and shimmed, top bolted and shimmed, inside the door same, and I've got the front of the fender just bolted in place. It's basically height-wise it's good, and laterally won't make any difference for what I'm going to do next. It took quite a bit of pushing and shoving to get this portion of the fender with the new patch panel in far enough that when I ran the straight edge along the rocker, both bottom to pull it up and shim it, but also initially it was actually angled out a little bit here. So it took quite a bit of shoving to get it in, and that probably just has to do with different stresses on this panel versus different stresses up here on the fender. So I'm going to depart from the norm just a little bit, and I'm going to do most of the welding of the patch panel to the fender on the car. And I'm hoping what that'll do is that'll kind of lock in as much of this shape as I can, so I don't have to do a lot of pushing and shoving after everything's done to get it to line up. What I noticed here is that my gap tightened up a little bit too much along here, probably to about right there. I went ahead and cut this weld loose. It happens sometimes. It still looks good over here, but I think I'm just going to need to widen it out from here to about, probably about right where that weld was. I've got my tacks along the side here. Panels are even. A little bit of a bow in there, but I think I can pull that out once I get the fender back off. Okay, got stitch welding done on the seam there. Got a little bit of cleanup there, but doesn't feel too bad. Actually got a little bit of a spot there I need to work on. It's a little high, but no worries. Hopefully what I've done is I've locked in that shape a little bit better than if I'd have just done all this welding on the stand. And so next I'm going to pull the fender off, kind of see how it did, get it back on the stand, and I'll finish up everything, straighten everything out. And I've still got to get the back edge back here as well. Got the fender off, back on the stand. I can start cleaning up the inside a little bit. And I've got to do a little filling back here in the back corner. This is basically for, well, one, for structure to a certain point, but it's cosmetic as well. When you open the door, you can see this back here. So, you know, obviously I've got to look at it. And I actually just need to kind of hit this right here. I think I can just spot weld this with the spot welder. Let's try it. I think that worked. Okay, saves me a little bit of time drilling and welding. We're looking at the back edge of the fender here. I've got the first part of it, which gap was pretty tight. I've got that filled in, but I've got a wider gap up to here that I have to fill. And that's an awfully hard area to try and make a little piece of sheet metal patch. So go back to my welding rod. I can kind of fit it down in here and get it pretty close, but I think if I take and just kind of take the grinder and open this up a little bit, that rod will come out kind of right to the edge and I can get a good weld on it. Let's try that. Okay, now I'm going to just try and match this contour as best I can. I think that's doable. I'm going to go ahead and hit this with the welder, tack it in a few spots, and then finish burning it in. Let me hit a few spots on the outside. Alright, let me grind off the end of my rod there, and we'll fast forward through and I'll stitch the rest of this. I think I've got it pretty good. That welding rod worked. Filled in my gap there. Used a little bit more right up in here just to kind of finish it up. This is all hidden by the rocker panel, so I'm not going to keep filling just for the sake of filling. And I've got tacked in, spot welded. Edge looks good. I saved my little body line here. So I think I can call that a success. Next up, I'm going to work on just cleaning up edges and kind of prettying it up. I still have a few things left to do on the fender before I can put it back on permanently for mock-up and test fit. I think I've got everything on the fender done, ready to put it back on for final mock-up. I went ahead and fixed my hole here. This one was okay. It's a little ugly, but a bolt's going to cover it anyway. Filled in the spots where the original factory wheel well chrome trim was. Went ahead and cleaned up my welded areas here. It's not perfect, but again, a little filler will take care of that. Let's see. Ground my weld down on the inside there. What else did I do? Oh, well, we already looked at this one. So the next step, and this is just for the purposes of keeping it from rusting before I can get it in the sandblast cabinet, is just hit the bare metal. I think I might have said this on the last episode. This old cheap hardware store primer is in no way, shape, or form going to be the finish primer for this. This is just to hopefully keep some of these areas from spot rusting before I can get back to it with the sandblaster. And then once I get it redone in the sandblast cabinet, then I'll go over it again with a coat of epoxy primer. I think that's good enough. Let's. Oh, that was my spot that I used for attaching my negative from a welding clamp. All right, let me let that dry. Let's throw this fender back on and do some test fitting. Before I stick this fender on, I do have a couple of spots I need to fix. That seems to be a recurring theme on this car, but you know what? Anything that's 50 some odd years old, I think 52 years old, and is, you know, seen a little bit of action, you're gonna see it. So I've got a little bit of a ding right here that I can just work out. Gonna have to fix my little emblem hole for the emblem thingy. I've got a little bit of a dent right up in here. I'm just gonna have to straighten that back out. Got the little bit of drill pull rash to fix here, and a little bit of rust area right down here. Other than that, the fender's in good shape. The rest of it seems to be in pretty good shape. Oh, I've got some pimples here I've got to fix too, and maybe a little bit of a wrinkle there. Other than that, fender's in good shape. So let me get started on this. I'll do some of the easy stuff first. As you can see, fender's back on. It's aligned as close as I'm going to be able to get it. Next piece of the puzzle is the hood. And the hood comes into play because the fenders are going to key off the hood, the bumper's going to key off the hood, and everything kind of squares up with the hood because you can't really change the shape of the hood. That's going to do it for this week, guys. I know I kind of cut it off right in the middle of working on the hood, but the hood's got issues, and that'll have to wait for a different day. Certainly appreciate everybody watching. Big thanks to all you guys. If you liked what you saw today and you're not subscribed, think about subscribing. Sure would help me out. Maybe give me a thumbs up. Everybody, have a great day.